It's been about 10 years since I've last been able to play HUT seriously. Since then, despite making efforts every year, I haven't been able to get back into the mode, past the first months or so. In this video, I want to go over why this is and discuss the changes I want to see made to HUT to make it more appealing to players like myself who've drifted away into other game modes like Franchise. My problems with HUT stem from the root issues of the mode, to more overarching problems of the gameplay loop. So without further ado, let's get into it. Although I wouldn't go as far as to say this is a deal breaker for me, I would still say that this is one of the main things that takes part of the fun out of it for me. Honestly, I'm not too sure if this is a mutually felt thing in the community, but I will share my opinion nevertheless, starting with a question. What makes a player in an NHL game? Rather, what makes Connor McDavid in NHL? Is it just the name being on the back of the jersey, or his character looking like he does in real life? I would argue it's more important that his player plays like he does in real life. The speed, the hands, the shooting, the passing, the hockey IQ, all the aspects of the real-life McDavid that make him the best. But in my last video on my NHL 25 wishlist, I discussed how I feel like the current players in the game are lacking a true hockey IQ stat, and also a confidence stat, as I don't believe that offensive/defensive awareness is doing the job. Now, I don't want to retrace my thoughts on the matter too much as I did go into depth in the last video, so check that out if you haven't already. Moving forward, all of this, whether it's currently flawed or not, is how we currently make players in the game feel similar to real life. This is the reason that I think that HUT cards don't make much sense in the current way they are done. Anyone who's played HUT knows that there are constantly special edition cards released all the time, and by year end you could pretty much get any player you wanted in the 99 overall variant. My problem with this is that these players are no longer a good reflection of their real life counterparts. For example, many would say Patrick Kane is still quite talented offensively, but his defensive game is next to non-existent. If HUT then releases a special version of Kane that is 99 overall with maxed or next to maxed out defensive stats, then this card no longer represents Patrick Kane. It's more or less a fictional version of him, only maintaining the name and face. My proposal is, instead of relying on fictional versions of players like 99 overall Tyler Mott, we could instead use the NHL's vast history to allow for a large variety of different cards and versions, reaching through all the overalls. My example is the thumbnail that you clicked on. Using Sidney Crosby, we could easily make multiple variants of him. You could have a rookie version at an 82 overall, a current version at a 90 overall, and a prime version at a 98 overall. Now, instead of having fictional versions of players, we have real past versions. I mean, imagine how hype it would be pulling a prime Crosby, who now gets to center your first line. If EA really wanted to outdo themselves, they could have every version of Sidney Crosby from his debut to current. They could also do animations when you pull the card, seeing that you got a Crosby and then slowly revealing which version you got, also having him look younger in the game like he did at those times. At the end of the day, it's not a deal breaker for me like I said, but I do think that this would be significantly more fun than the current system they have. They could easily create real versions of players if they got creative. Don't get me wrong, while HUT is still technically pay to win, EA has taken massive strides in making the playing field more fair. You can still build an absolute beast of a team for free. You just have to endure hours of tedious gameplay against the computer, day after day, week after week. This is why I think as a free-to-play player, the gameplay loop is terrible. I actually like the variety of modes in the game. The moment challenges, squad battles, HUT rivals, and HUT rush. My problems stem from the gameplay. Now, I said in my last video that I actually think the gameplay isn't bad right now, but that does not apply to playing against the AI. As long as the AI can be cheesed and abused, these game modes will never be fun. For example, squad battles can provide you some of the best rewards in the game, at the cost of hours spent versing the AI. The game works on a worldwide ranking system based on who can get the most points versus an AI team. The way to get the most points possible is to absolutely decimate the AI team. I can't quite remember what the score had to be, but I think it was something like winning by 5 goals to get max points. Don't quote me on that. Given that the AI is quite easy to cheese and there are always methods learned of how to max out your points, this mode becomes an absolute chore, but it must be done, especially in the early game, if you want to build up the best team possible, which also happens to be the main objective of the game mode. To put it simply, HUT in its current makeup feels like a job. It takes so much time out of your life and is super tedious. Also, you can bring a respectable team into the online modes. Unfortunately, I see the only real fix is making the AI a lot better, which I know is no easy task, which means that this problem may never be addressed. Until the AI is an actual challenge to play against and can't be exploited, these modes, at least in my book, will never be fun. Lastly, we have the online gameplay. This is my bread and butter. I want to be able to play the game against the best of the best, climbing ranks, playing in tournaments, winning rewards. This is where I have the most fun with HUT. My problem stems from the gameplay. Starting with the gameplay, similar to my complaints with offline gameplay, is the exploitation factor. Every year it seems like there are meta ways to score and play in the game, and I hate playing this way. It's super repetitive in what can already be a repetitive game. I really would like to see the ability to play differently and succeed, not having to rely on glitch goals. I want to see the gameplay more realistic to real hockey, from a gameplay standpoint and a strategy standpoint. Again, I don't say this without acknowledging that it's simpler said than done, but the gameplay is the core that runs the game. If the gameplay has exploits, cheese, and glitches, then it will fundamentally be flawed. Realistically, players will always find something to exploit, but it's up to EA to patch and actively update the game as quick as possible. While I only have 3 broad complaints about HUT, these things are the foundation of the game, and with the current foundation, I and many others will struggle to get into the main game mode that EA is trying to sell to us. All there is left is to look forward to NHL 25 optimistically, and with a hope and a prayer, we'll get a fun game. Because that's what it's all about, right? Having fun with the game we love. Until next time, guys, take care of yourselves.